know what I'm saying? And when you look at Caitlyn Clark's game, who's very reminiscent of a Steph Curry based on her range and shooting the three, plus everything else she does. And then you look at Angel Reese, stop it. Stop it. There's a dude on the internet who cracks me up on TikTok. He's put together a shitload of Angel Reese clips.
People often talk about game changers, but what happens when a single player does more than just change the game? She compels entire teams to upgrade their arenas? That's exactly the scenario unfolding in the WNBA right now. A league once criticized for struggling to fill smaller venues is suddenly seeing multiple franchises shift select games to massive arenas. The catch: these upgrades only seem to happen when Caitlyn Clark comes to town. While fans celebrate the newfound attention on women's basketball, one major name feels left in the shadows: Angel Reese. She's openly questioned why her own matchups haven't warranted the same colossal stage. Is it hype? Is it bias? Or is it just business? Today, we're diving into the controversial reality behind these venue switches and why the numbers might be speaking louder than any highlight reel. But this story has more layers than a rivalry. It's a turning point in how the WNBA markets itself. If you've been wondering why some teams are scrambling for larger arenas while others seem perfectly content with smaller venues, stick around. The reasons might shock you, and by the end, you'll have a new perspective on who truly dominates the future of women's basketball. The chatter all started with a seemingly innocuous announcement. The Chicago Sky revealed they'd be hosting just 2 of their home games at the United Center, an arena that seats over 20,000. For a team used to playing in a venue barely half that size, it sounded like a smart move. Until you realized which opponent they'd be hosting there: the Indiana Fever, featuring none other than Caitlyn Clark. Immediately, questions flooded social media. Why only those 2 games? Why not any matchups featuring the Chicago Sky's own star, Angel Reese? Local fans pointed out that Angel is no slouch. She's garnered significant attention for her energetic play style and lively social media presence. So, why weren't more of her games considered big enough for the giant arena upgrade? That's when the rumors began. Some claimed it was a sign that the Chicago front office didn't believe Angel was the real draw. Others said it was a business decision designed to capitalize solely on Clark's skyrocketing popularity. And still others insisted that Angel just hadn't had enough time to cultivate the same level of hype in Chicago. From an outsider's perspective, it looked like a simple scheduling decision. But when you dig deeper, you realize this was never about scheduling. It was about star power. The kind of star power that not only packs seats, but sets Twitter timelines ablaze and forces opponents to plan around a single name. But the real story doesn't stop at just one city or one team. Because if you follow the path of upgraded venues, it leads to the same place. And the person behind that phenomenon is sending shockwaves through the entire league. Caitlyn Clark entered the WNBA on a wave of hype that transcended sports headlines. She was heralded as a scoring prodigy, a long-range sharpshooter, and a player whose collegiate dominance seemed impossible to replicate in the pros, until she did exactly that. But while her on-court heroics made highlight reels, an even bigger story was unfolding in the stands. Suddenly, franchises that used to struggle to attract 7,000 fans on a good day found themselves clamoring to find seats for 15,000 people. Last season, the Indiana Fever, with Clark at the helm, shattered previous attendance records. Ticket sales soared not just for home games, but for every time she stepped into an opposing team's arena. It didn't matter if you were a diehard Fever fan or not. Everyone wanted to witness Caitlyn's newest feat in person. And when something that seismic occurs, it's not just hype, it's a quantifiable shift. Reports showed that games featuring Caitlyn brought in anywhere from 20% to 50% more ticket revenue compared to similar matchups without her. One widely circulated stat claimed her presence alone was responsible for over a quarter of the league's total merchandise sales. Whether or not that number is perfectly accurate, the bigger story rings true. Fans buy in when Caitlyn is playing. But there's a flip side to this dominance. Whenever a star rises that quickly, there's bound to be another player who feels overshadowed. And that's exactly where Angel Reese comes in. An elite talent in her own right, but one whose star power hasn't translated to the same feverish box office rush. So how does Angel Reese, a self-proclaimed co-star in the league's big moment, handle being second fiddle? Let's take a look at her frustrations and the rumors swirling around her response. Angel Reese didn't come into the league quietly. From the moment she declared herself ready for the pros, she carried a big personality and a flair for making headlines, on and off the court. In interviews, she's often emphasized how her social media following, combined with her enthusiastic fan base, contributes just as much hype as any other players. But while Caitlyn Clark's arrival instantly led to bigger arenas, Angel's own rookie season in Chicago felt comparatively ordinary. Sure, she drew respectable crowds. She signed autographs and got her share of social media love. Yet the organization never announced any plan to move one of her marquee matchups from its regular venue to a massive showplace. Rumors began circulating that Angel felt sidelined, or worse, that her own team threw her under the bus. As one anonymous tipster put it, the logic, according to these whispers, was that Chicago believed Reese wasn't quite the revenue engine Clark had proven to be. And that assumption stung, especially for someone who'd publicly declared she was part of the reason people were tuning into women's basketball in larger numbers. Angel supporters argue that if the Sky had simply marketed her with as much gusto as the league markets Clark, you'd see similar attendance spikes. It's about promotion, not just skill, they say. Detractors counter that top-tier skill sets a foundation for hype that marketing only amplifies, and that Clark's historic numbers speak for themselves. Some fans even worry that Angel's frustration could lead to tensions within the locker room or friction with the front office. After all, no athlete wants to feel like their achievements are overlooked. Yet the scoreboard for public attention and revenue doesn't always lie. But before we assume this is a two-woman drama, let's zoom out and see how the entire WNBA is evolving around these star players and their growing rivalries. It's impossible to ignore the buzz that rivalries create. In any sport, fans gravitate to storylines pitting two dynamic personalities against each other. Magic versus Bird, Serena versus Venus. Now, women's basketball may have found its next chapter in the form of Caitlyn Clark versus Angel Reese, a clash of skill, confidence, and public perception. In truth, the WNBA benefits from any rivalry that can attract new viewers. The drama of who's the bigger star, or who deserves the bigger stage, becomes a magnet for casual fans. Suddenly, even people who don't follow women's basketball year-round start paying attention, eager to weigh in or pick a side. Look beyond Chicago, and you'll see the ripple effect. Teams like the Washington Mystics and Connecticut Sun have shifted games against the fever to larger arenas or moved them to prime dates designed to maximize attendance. Social media is rife with comments like, "We're about to break another record, thanks to Clark," or "Angel better step it up if she wants the same treatment." While it might seem cutthroat, these rivalries generate exactly the kind of excitement the WNBA has wanted for years. Ratings spike, networks scramble for broadcasting rights, and the league finds itself in headlines that previously overlooked women's basketball. The tension between these two stars, manufactured or genuine, sets the stage for some of the most compelling matchups in recent memory. But there's a broader conversation happening. Is the league picking favorites, or is this just how business works? Let's investigate the league-wide speculations about what's really going on behind these venue changes. Suddenly, it's not just the Chicago Sky. The Washington Mystics announced they'd be hosting the Fever at a bigger arena in Baltimore. The Connecticut Sun shifted a game against Indiana to Boston's iconic TD Garden. Even the Las Vegas Aces, a team that already boasts strong attendance, hinted they might explore bigger venues for certain high-demand matchups. The pattern is hard to miss. Name a franchise, and you'll find that if Caitlyn Clark is on the schedule, plans might be brewing to expand capacity. Some fans have labeled it the Caitlyn Tour, a traveling phenomenon that compels teams to roll out the red carpet. But is this a sign of favoritism, or just a pragmatic solution to meet ticket demand? League officials are quick to emphasize the latter. One unnamed executive commented, "When you see evidence that a single player is drawing record crowds, you don't ignore it, you adapt." It's not about favoritism, it's about listening to the fans. Still, speculation runs wild. Some wonder if the WNBA's front office is indirectly funneling more support and marketing dollars toward Clark, believing her storyline to be the league's best path to broader mainstream appeal. Others think it's simply the culmination of organic hype around a transcendent talent, amplified by social media and a thirst for new sports heroes. Where does that leave Angel Reese? Her supporters claim the league is looking for just one face to push and is effectively overlooking other top talents. But others argue that if Angel's games produced the same ticket frenzy, the big venues would follow. Could it be that the numbers just aren't on her side yet? Speaking of numbers, revenue, attendance, and brand sponsorships are changing the landscape of the WNBA. Let's see what this could mean for the future of women's basketball as a whole. For years, critics have pointed to the WNBA's smaller viewership and lower revenue as evidence it was lagging behind. Now that narrative is shifting. The rapid rise in attendance for select matchups signals genuine growth, not just a marketing gimmick. Larger venues mean more seats, more merchandise sales, more buzz, and potentially a gateway to a new era of profitability for a league that's historically operated on tight margins. Even if only a handful of games each season move to these big arenas, it normalizes the idea that women's basketball can and should fill them. Think of it as proof of concept. If a single star can nearly sell out a 20,000-seat location, then the entire league benefits. Sponsors take note. Networks start fighting for broadcasting rights, and the media coverage that once seemed elusive now becomes almost guaranteed. That spotlight also shines on the league's lesser-known talents. If a casual fan attends a game just to see Caitlyn or Angel, but leaves impressed by a different player entirely, that's a win for everyone. The WNBA's biggest challenge has always been visibility. One breakout star can draw in a wide audience, but the rest of the league has to keep them coming back. The question remains, can the momentum be sustained if it leans so heavily on a single rivalry or a single superstar? Some experts caution that pinning all hopes on Caitlyn Clark could be risky. If she faces a slump, injury, or decides to leave for more lucrative opportunities overseas, the league's short-term surge could stall. That's where players like Angel Reese and the next wave of college standouts come into play. But the rumors and controversies surrounding who really deserves these upgrades and who doesn't show no signs of slowing. Let's peek at how fans, insiders, and the players themselves are responding and what might come next. Take a quick scroll through social media, and you'll see the heated debates. One tweet might say, Angel Reese has every right to feel snubbed. She's a star too. While another counters, if the demand was there for her games, the team would upgrade the venue. Simple as that. This discourse isn't just online noise. It reflects real questions about the WNBA's marketing direction and star-building strategies. Angel has dropped cryptic hints that she's aware of the conversation. In one post-game interview, she mentioned that sometimes the biggest moves happen quietly, prompting speculation that she's pushing for more promotional backing behind the scenes. Will it lead to more marquee games for her? Possibly. After all, if she continues to elevate her play and public persona, her own brand could catch up in a year or two. Meanwhile, franchises that haven't upgraded any games yet are suddenly reevaluating their schedules. They see the financial windfall that hosting the Fever can bring. Could we see more mid-season announcements about shifting a game to a larger arena? Some insiders believe it's inevitable, especially if ticket sales keep spiking. Others wonder if the WNBA itself might facilitate more top-billed showdowns, scheduling Caitlyn's Fever against the most intriguing opponents during weekend primetime slots and nudging them into bigger venues. There's even talk of special Rivalry Week events, which might highlight Caitlyn versus Angel as the main attraction. But as the league rides this wave, one question hangs in the air. Does a spotlight that bright on one or two players risk leaving everyone else in the shadows? Let's wrap up by asking what the future really looks like, and whether Angel Reese can break through the hype gap. The WNBA is at a crossroads where momentum meets uncertainty. On one hand, Caitlyn Clark's astonishing impact is undeniable. She shattered attendance records, prompted larger venues, and fueled a fresh wave of excitement that the league sorely needed. On the other, Angel Reese's determination to stand on equal footing reflects a desire for a more balanced spotlight, where multiple stars can boost the game to new heights. But at the heart of it all lies a simple truth. Sports is a business. The reason these venue changes focus on Caitlyn Clark comes down to numbers, ticket sales, merchandise, and the overall revenue pie. It's not about who deserves it more. It's about who's actually drawing the crowds. If Angel Reese or any other player reaches that threshold, you can bet their teams will jump at the chance to upgrade venues too. So where does this leave us? Hopefully, on the verge of a new era. The WNBA has long fought for the recognition it's now beginning to earn. Whether it's Angel, Caitlyn, or the next breakout star, high-stakes rivalries and larger stages mean a brighter future for everyone. After years of incremental progress, women's basketball might finally be seeing an era of explosive growth. The question is, who will seize the opportunity? Will Angel Reese sharpen her game and marketing chops to match Caitlyn's outsized influence? Or will Caitlyn run away with the crown, setting attendance records that no one can catch? More importantly, is there room for more than one main character in this story? We want to hear your take. Is this trend good for women's basketball? Or does it concentrate too much power in one player's hands? Are the venue switches a sign of genuine growth? Or do they leave other talents in the dust? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There's more to this story than just two names, and chances are, the next twist is just around the corner.